Hello, Fiona here. So today we're going to look at cognitive distortions. So cognitive referring to thoughts and distortions meaning not quite right, misrepresenting. And these are thinking patterns that are negative because they tend to emphasize a negative bias, right? And all of us have a tendency to fall into these thinking patterns from time to time. There's about 10 of them. I'll do 5 in this video and then share the other 5 in another video. So the first is polarized thinking, and this is also known as black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, either or thinking, and this is the tendency to see things only from two extremes, right? Either people love me or they hate me. People are either good or bad. I'm either destined to be a failure or a success. So there is a failure to see things from a more balanced perspective and appreciate the nuance between these extremes, right? The second is overgeneralization, and this is where we draw a conclusion about a certain situation and then we apply it across the board. So let's say you have a relationship that didn't work out, and you draw the conclusion that it's because you're not lovable. And therefore, you're never going to have another relationship. There's no point in starting a relationship because you're just unlovable. Maybe because this individual was not very kind to you, you draw a conclusion about this gender being very unkind or this ethnic group, you know. That's now overgeneralization. So we have the tendency to overextend the conclusion to other areas that are not necessarily true. The third is catastrophizing, and a catastrophe is something that's phenomenally bad, right? So that's the tendency to jump to the worst case scenario whenever you're faced with uncertainty or you're not really sure what is going on. So, for example, you're trying to reach someone on the phone and they don't pick up, and you immediately start to assume it's because they have been involved in an accident or because they have been mugged, right? So, anytime you don't have full details, the mind just automatically goes there as opposed to as opposed to waiting to receive more details so that you can know exactly what it is that is going on. The fourth is personalization, and this is the tendency to take things personally, things that are not really related to us directly, things that we don't have control over. It's the tendency to feel like you're being excluded or being targeted. So maybe an example I can give would be if you have a colleague that you're particularly close with, and then you come to work on Monday and you hear that they had a party on Saturday. So you start feeling some type of way, like, why didn't they invite me to their party? I thought we were close. Maybe they're embarrassed about us being friends, or maybe they think that I'm not worthy of meeting their other friends. So we start making it about ourselves. And it's possible that the only reason this person didn't invite you is because maybe they were getting together people that they were in uni with, right? Perhaps they were in uni in the UK or in SA, and you guys know each other from work. So the consideration for the party was that I'm bringing people together that I haven't seen in years because we haven't seen each other for such a long time. And we were in school together in uni. But now you, hearing that story, are starting to make it about yourself. People who have this tendency of personalization are those who have a tendency to compare themselves quite a lot. If you're constantly comparing what's working for you as opposed to someone else, if you're constantly comparing how much better someone else's life is to compared to yours, how much more beautiful someone else is compared to you, how much more money, So if you tend to be in that state of mind quite often, then there's a chance that personalization is something that you'll be doing quite a bit. The fifth cognitive distortion is mind reading, and this is the assumption that you know what someone is thinking. And it's possible that there have been times where you have been accurate in your assumption, especially if it's someone you're in a close relationship with, someone you've been exposed to for a long time, like a family member or a partner. However, it is possible to draw the wrong conclusion. And often you'll find that people will fall into mind reading to protect themselves because they don't want to be told a painful truth, or they are projecting something about themselves onto that person. Sorry, I'm just recovering from a cold. So, for example, you want to talk to your boss about getting a raise, and you go in, and this guy says, "Oh, I'm not able to talk about it right now. How about we schedule a meeting for next week?" So you immediately go back to your desk and start assuming the only reason this person doesn't talk about it is because they don't think I'm deserving of a raise. And now you start having a whole emotional response to an assumption that you're making about what this person is thinking, because you imagine you can read their mind. Whereas the reality is that they really can't have this meeting right now. Maybe their schedule is fully booked. So if you book for a meeting next week, you can have that conversation. Okay, so we've gone through these 5. I would want to invite us to start to reflect about situations in the past, maybe where one or more of these distortions have shown up. You can also begin to observe yourself in the week that's coming up to see if any of these distortions are something that you engage in. If you have any insights that have jumped out at you in this video, I would also love to hear it. And then in the next video, I'll share the other 5. Something to consider is that these distortions are not usually something we choose to do, but we fall into the habit of doing it. For example, if in the past, like with the mind reading example, we have been correct, yeah? So now we want to apply it. We want to overgeneralize our ability to know what the other person is thinking. You'll also find that if something is, those are geese, they are agreeing. You'll also find that if something is unresolved from the past, for example, with the overgeneralization situation, or with personalization, even with polarized thinking, whatever is unresolved in the past will now push us into creating narratives that will influence our present. So with that, I will leave it at that. And yeah, let me know whatever has come up for you. And if anything does come up for you in the coming week, we can talk about it in the group. Until next time, ciao.